Hello, this is Dear Damson, and today I am going to paint a rose, and we're going to use a lot of colors, and all the colors play beautifully together. We are going to use cadmium yellow deep hue, cadmium red, and crimson. Plus, we are going to use tallow blue with ultramarine blue and maybe a tiny bit of black, so that will be the background with the blues and the black, and our rose, it will be beautiful reds and yellows. So the first thing I'm doing is one area at a time. I'm making it wet, and then I'm dropping in a very transparent color. The first layer will be with a very pale orangey yellow, so I did mix both yellows together, so I created a little bit less of an orange. And when I'm painting, I'm moving from one area to an area across, maybe, so I can give the area that it's wet a little chance to dry before I go around with another wet brush, so the colors don't start mixing, or the areas don't start mixing between each other. But pretty much the first layer is that very pale yellow, and then dropping in the cadmium red. Sometimes I have the cadmium red kind of mixed a little bit with the cadmium yellow deep hue, which is the orangey yellow, so it's a between color. And I'm going to repeat this to all the petals until we get to the point where the outside petals are almost dry, and we're gonna go back in, make the area slightly wet right underneath each petal, which is the shadowy side, and drop in some crimson and gently smooth it in. For the center, which is the smallest area with the smallest petals, I am painting first the darker area, the shadow area, with that yellowish orange, and then I'm going to drop in some mixture between the cadmium red and the crimson. And because it's wet, the color is gonna start moving around, and that will just create really fast my shadow for the center. The most important thing is leaving the tips of this very little petals, not making them wet, but leaving them dry, and that pretty much creates the look of the rose. So I'm gonna go around on the edges of the petals, and I am going to add a little bit more yellow, so you can decide, is it gonna be the lighter yellow or a little bit more orangey yellow? That's going to be up to you. But pretty much it's just trying not to leave too much white canvas on the flower. And now I'm running a clean wet brush over certain areas just to soften the edges of the paint. And you see some of the lines on the rose that are on the shadow part of the petal, which is right underneath the light part of the petal on the top. It is much darker. So I'm gonna leave this flower to dry a little bit before I add the last few elements, and I'm gonna go on the background. And the background, like I said, it's going to be the two blues plus a little bit, tiny bit of black, just creating more drama. That color is going to push our rose forward. And I'm using wet on wet, but I kind of rushed here and made my canvas wet everywhere, and it starts drying pretty fast. So if that happens, just go back right away and add a little bit of water, run your brush across the colors, and that's going to pretty much fix everything. I'm using a very light paper. I think that's 180 grams. So that paper is warping a little bit too much because I don't have it taped down. But once it dries, I have never had problems with that. And if ever I have problems, I actually iron some of my art. You have to experiment and see different papers do differently. So experiment with a smaller piece of paper before you experiment with your art to iron it. But I covered the art with something and then I iron. So I'm going back in and emphasizing on the shadow a little bit more, and you see how that rose all of a sudden got a little brighter and happier. But pretty much that's it. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you get notifications for my future videos. Happy painting. Bye.